Luxury sedans are not dead. Point in fact, the 2023 Lexus ES 350 F Sport. Now, a lot of you guys are thinking sedans are going away because you hear it a lot, even from people like us. We're wrong. As a matter of fact, in this video, I'm going to be telling you about all the competition that goes up against this vehicle and whether or not this is still a relevant player. You're in for a treat because this has 302 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque with a 3.5-liter V6. And that feeds the front wheels through an 8-speed automatic transmission. And the reason why I say you're in for a treat is because it's actually quite a bit of power for a car this size. It is quick, and later on in this video, I will demonstrate that. As it stands, this particular powertrain can be one of two others. So let's say you want all-wheel drive. Well, you can't get it with the V6, but you can get it with a 4-cylinder. And that 4-cylinder is anemic by comparison, but you will get all-wheel drive with it. Also, there is a hybrid version. Now, by the way, I've reviewed all of these cars, so you can easily find them on TFL Car. The hybrid version, obviously, much more economical, but not as quick as this. So in terms of the most sporty version of this car, this is what you're looking at with the big V6, front-wheel drive, and with that F-Sport handling package, you actually have a car that can go around corners. Compared to last year, there have been very few updates externally for the ES. Recently, the grille and the headlights, some of the front end has been slightly updated, but really not a whole lot. You do get these beautiful alloy split 19-inch wheels wrapped in fairly aggressive rubber, and then of course your F-Sport badge, because everybody needs to know you spent extra money for the F-Sport. One thing I do like that Lexus is still doing is when they have an exhaust, they actually have an exhaust. See that? There's two of them. There's one on the other side too. And there's a little tiny pipe that leads through there that actually blows out exhaust fumes. Now, a lot of Germans don't do that, which is something that kind of bothers me. I don't know about you guys. Let me show you this. You do get pretty good space in here. You have 13.9 cubic feet of space here. We actually left the bag back here just so you guys could get a little feel for the amount of space that's back here. And then, if you lift this up, wait, one more thing. I'm going to get there. Ta-da! You get a donut. I do like a spare tire. I cannot stand repair kits. You know what I mean? Remember how I was telling you that the luxury sedan is not dead, especially in this class? Well, let me explain. You have currently the Acura TLX, the BMW 3 Series, Audi A4, Mercedes-Benz E-Class, Genesis G80 and G70, Cadillac CT5, Infiniti Q50, and even the Volvo S60. And there are technically other ones that you could add to that because the price tag for this vehicle can start in the mid-40s and go well into the mid-50s, and there are an awful lot of vehicles in this class that do compete at that price point. So yeah, the reports of the sedan, the luxury sedan's demise, greatly exaggerated. Something very interesting a lot of people don't realize is that ever since the 1990s, actually the late 1980s, the ES has been around. And the ES has a very comfortable interior that recently has been updated. All right, fire away. Honestly, the exhaust note, it's okay. But this is the part that's really cool. When you sit inside any Lexus, even one that borrows as many components from the Camry as this one does, and it has been doing that for years and years and years, you still feel like you're in a Lexus because all of the quality of the materials is extremely good. And let's start with the steering wheel, because this is one of my favorite steering wheels on the planet. Now, with the F-Sport, you do get a little bit of extra goodies going on here. This is especially important because you got to know where your investment's going. You do get paddle shifters, which do function relatively well because this is a proper automatic transmission. Now, your settings are all controlled right here in terms of drive settings. So you have Sport, Sport Plus. You push in for normal, and then of course Eco, and then there's a custom mode. Now let's say you want to control your traction control. That's over here. You would think you could do something by rotating, but you really can't. All this does is turn traction control off and turn traction control on. But that doesn't matter because it's a cool looking little stock. The big change really starts here, and that is because new Lexus infotainment, which by the way is new Toyota infotainment. This screen, now the optional 8-inch screen is about that big. This one is a 12.3-inch infotainment screen. And because I'm driving a Lexus and I decided to wear a nice hat, I decided to put on Yacht Rock. That way when Roman gets in the car, he'll feel right at home. But there's more to it than that, because this infotainment screen is probably one of the clearest that I've ever seen in a Toyota product. And it works relatively well. Things go pretty quick, but not as fast as I would like, to be honest with you. So it's good, but perhaps it could be a little bit better, especially for a Lexus product. You still have the analog clock, which I really like having. So that's a really cool thing. And the new screen is nicely integrated into this, which I like as well. And then there's more. I'm going to teach you guys how to use this. It's incredibly simple. Lexus thought it out because old people like this. Because you have volume control here. See this? Volume control. And then the outer one is for tuning. Yes! Huzzah! Thank you. It makes things so much easier when you're doing basic tuning for XM and Sirius and FM and AM. Yes, AM, I said. Other switches here are very simple to use. Large enough buttons. But I think they should be a little bit bigger, if that's just me. But this, none of that silliness of having some sort of flat screen thing that you're pushing. These actually are buttons. This is really cool, guys. I don't know why I like it so much, but I love how smooth it works. And the fact that drivers who, like Roman, have certain vision problems at his age, he can easily see the temperature. It's just so smooth in action, so intuitive, so simple. I wish everybody would have a system like this for heating and air conditioning. For those of you who are wondering, what happened to that trackpad? Well, because of their new infotainment system, they got to get rid of it. And I say, yay! What they did instead was they put in this large wireless phone charger. And it has a nice surface to it, which is grippy, so you can throw your phone on there and it'll work quite well. As a matter of fact, let me show you with mine. Now, I have a really big case on mine because I'm a klutz and I drop it all the time. But you pop it on here, and it's just enough room for even a phone with a big case. And it works fairly well. And it's not going to go anywhere unless you really do something stupid. There is a little extra storage over here as well where you can put additional phones. And then, of course, you have the switches here for your heated and cooled seats, steering wheel, and passenger seats. I do like having this little section here. Once again, just enough room to put a phone in. Works okay. Can I show you something that I kind of geek out on because it's just cool? So this opens two ways. One way, and then you can put the button here the other way. I don't know why I like that so much. It's just so cool and so smart, and I wish other people would do it. So the button is over here on the side, but if you reach over here to open it, you're out of luck. So it's either on one side or the other. The door handles, nice finish by the way. Stitching, all of this finish, all of this is a carryover, as is the majority of the interior components and materials from the previous year. The funny thing about this V6, yes, it's in the Camry, and yes, it was in other vehicles like the Avalon. I kind of miss the Avalon. This sort of takes up that. I know some of you guys are like, well, the Toyota Crown, well, forget the Toyota Crown. I'm not talking about that. It's a completely different vehicle. In terms of a luxury saloon, this vehicle sort of is in a class of its own in the Lexus stable, and that's because the IS is much more sporty, a lot smaller, and a lot more uncomfortable. And then their largest vehicle is a bit of a barge by comparison. This one fits nicely, and they got rid of the GS, and I think I've told you guys before the GS used to be my favorite. But check this out. Nice. Smooth, just super smooth. Gear changes are smooth, acceleration smooth, plenty of power on tap, but it's not crazy powerful. Passing power isn't as good as I would like, and I think it's because I'm at high elevation. I know this is a much snappier powertrain at sea level. Handling. Well, it does have adjustable dampeners, so it is able to actually absorb quite a bit of punishment, and it handles nicely around corners. At the same time, it's fairly quiet, but not as quiet as some of the competitors. I would wager that they're actually on the lower end in terms of isolation for sound. Bumps and everything else, because you have the sports suspension, you're going to feel it a little bit more. If you don't want this type of feel, obviously do not get the F-Sport with the suspension package. So you can feel that. One thing that really gets me about the ES, and has for years, and one of the reasons I kind of learned to like it and then learned to love it, is it never really is a compromise. When you sometimes have to drive certain types of luxury vehicles that are based on other vehicles, there's a compromise somewhere. Not so much here. With this big honkin' V6, you still get decent economy, good performance, a fairly quiet cabin, excellent ergonomics and comfort. I mean, it's quite a good car, and for a decent price. Hello there. Watch the fat man get into the back. Not that hard. There are a lot of people out there who don't like sedans because they're kind of low to the ground, and new crossovers, frankly, you just scoot your butt over and you can get in, don't have to fall in it and all that other stuff. But this one's fairly easy to get into, and even though the roof does come back at a severe angle, there's just enough headroom for me, and I'm about 6'1". I fit behind myself very nice. And then, of course, you have the controls back here, which allow for your vents, 120, and if I can get these open, ta-da! USB-Cs. I wish one of them was a USB-C and the other one was the old school one, but whatever. Bottom line, back seat is not a bad place for 2 people and 3 people on a pinch. So 8.19 seconds at over a mile above sea level for 0 to 60 with 2 people in the vehicle. I was in the Sport Plus setting, so that is right about what I expected. This car can come close to 7 seconds on an average 0 to 60 near sea level, so yeah, that's about right. Remember how I was talking about whether or not this is still relevant? It is. I think it's actually a pretty good value considering what it goes up against. The ES fights against some of the best in the class in terms of performance, in terms of economy, luxury, you name it. And they still manage to pull it off. Although, let's be honest, it's not as fresh and exciting as some of the other ones out there. This one, as equipped, has an MSRP. I have the sticker right here of $53,775. And before you go, oh my God, that's too much for a Camry, considering what you're getting on the inside of the vehicle and considering what it goes up against, I think that's a pretty good value. I think it puts it right in the middle of the sweet spot of all those vehicles. The question is, of course, whether or not you want something that is considered the most reliable luxury vehicle in its class versus some of those other ones. Got to keep that in mind as well. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.